This is the call to order for the Complete Streets and Safety Committee meeting for September. This is September 17th. It is 6:36 p.m. and this is the call to order. Alrighty. I guess we're not doing a roll call, but everyone is present for this meeting, and we will welcome the new members in a second. So welcome unofficially. Regarding the agenda, I guess, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda, or is there any additions or changes to the agenda? Yeah.
I'd like to add something.
Can you unmute your mic?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yes, I would like to nominate a vice chair.
Yeah.
Vice chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. We realized that since Gregory had left the council, we don't have a vice, or the committee, we don't have a vice chairman. So perhaps we could add that to the welcome new members and nominate or elect a vice chairman.
Can we elect next time just to make sure it's on the agenda?
Yeah, I think that would be okay. Then for me, we'll add that for the agenda for next time then, is to sort of add that as a point. Yeah, wonderful. Any other comments, or can I get an adoption to approve the agenda for this meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the agenda is adopted. Moving forward to oral communications. Are there any oral communications?
I haven't received any emails or phone calls, but I see we have Chris here if you would like to speak. On items not on the agenda? Okay. So no oral communications.
All right. Yeah. Wonderful. Moving forward then to approval of the minutes. And this is the minutes from July 3rd, our last meeting. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to read through the minutes. And can I get an approval for the minutes? Are there any comments regarding the minutes?
Motion to approve?
I second that.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. For these, I think we don't do a roll call vote. We just do an approval that way. Yeah. All right. Moving on to old business then. For item AB 413, this is an update from staff. I'll turn it over to staff.
Yeah, so just a really quick update. You guys have spent the past couple months compiling the research. We filled in the new members a little bit about the assignment on the orientation, but they did join at a good time because, you know, they don't have to join in the middle. We can begin something new. But regarding AB 413, let me see. The bulk of AB 413, after looking at the ridge and other parts of the city, I mean, as we expected, it's all going to be central Brisbane. And these dots I have right here are color-coded to indicate how many parking spaces are being lost at an intersection approach. There's, of course, more intersection approaches than are shown here, but a lot of the city has already accounted for, or not, but just by accident has accounted for AB 413. There's just not existing striping, so there's no changes needed. So all these dots indicate where striping changes will need to be made. The blue dots indicate one spot is being lost. The yellow spots indicate two spots, because if there's an approach where on the other side of the approach there's a striping indicating parking, and the green dots indicating 3 spots. So if you count them all up, if I'm remembering correctly off the top of my head, this is 35 parking spaces lost because of our striping changes. This isn't all the spots lost. There's going to be more because a lot of the spots are being lost, but without any striping changes. So what I have done is I've compiled all your guys' findings into that template I showed you guys before. I mean, it's pretty dense, as you can imagine. I won't go through the entire thing, but what I did was, and it's just still a draft because I might edit some of the wording and some of the presentation just to make it as easy to understand for a contractor. But really, it's just a photo. It's just the direction of travel. Is the crosswalk marked? Is there a ball bar present? All the things we discussed before. And then I did all this first, and I used this information to figure out how many parking spots we're losing. And so something very similar to this would be what we advertise for a contractor to bid on and make some of these striping changes. Related to the ridge, as I just mentioned, there aren't that many striping changes that are needed in the ridge. There are a few, so we haven't really formally discussed this, but I would think that whenever we do pavement maintenance, on the ridge, we'll take that opportunity to make striping changes rather than include it with the bulk of the striping changes that are limited to central Brisbane. And so yeah, I think we hit our timeline. We had talked about early fall, and we're at this late September meeting, but we are just about done.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that summary. Yeah, I guess to give some background, AB 413 is coming into effect in January and is a new law that will require, is it 20 feet of space from the stop sign to the closest parking spot? And I think, perhaps a way to reframe it is rather than parking spots lost, is like, there's also a great benefit here from the daylighting aspect in terms of safety. And so, the committee went about and kind of surveyed the town to make sure and sort of annotate which intersections would need changes. And from our perspective, was also thinking about it from the parking perspective. But of course, I think this is a bigger, broader issue. And so, thank you for that summary.
Oh yeah, and one more thing just regarding enforcement. I just remembered this email we got from Commander Mario Garcia earlier. But he mentioned that the social media postings and more robust outreach will begin in the early fourth quarter and continue till January 1st. And then January will be a month of transition, and formal citations would begin in February.
Yeah. I guess on the note of sort of outreach, that's something else we've been talking about as well and thinking about is how the committee can sort of help spread the message around how that might impact sort of, the aspects that we also think about. Any other points or comments that the committee would care to make, or Karen, or yeah?
I have a question for Tomas. Nothing that the law says if you want to set that distance different than 20 feet, less than 20 feet, you need to go to council. We haven't found anything like that yet, right?
Wonderful.
And that's from a crosswalk marked or unmarked, not the stop sign, as you said. And then a bulb out, if you have a bulb out, which is for pedestrians, that kind of shortens the crosswalk length, the distance only has to be 15 feet per the law.
Karen, I can barely
Oh.
hear you.
It only has to be 15 feet per the law
Right.
on a bulb out.
Right. And on the approach, not it.
And
Not
the approach
every-
direction, not the going away.
Okay. Just a quick question. I had asked you guys via email about the intersection at San Francisco and San Bruno and the change that was made there. There was some questions on Facebook about it, and I really have no idea what that's designed to do or how it's going to work. It's got channelizers currently. Thank you.
It was designed to make the San Bruno, car stopped at San Bruno, and pedestrians more visible to vehicles on visitation. So I think it was presented to a council member, brought to the city manager, and he was interested in implementing it in kind of a quick build where if it wasn't effective or it wasn't well received, it could be, removed if it needed to. But the idea is to kind of get those cars a little bit difficult to see, and pedestrians are also difficult to see if you're on visitation. And the information we got is that people are maybe not waiting, and this is making, when you pull up, I don't know if you've used it, when you pull up on San Bruno, you can see visitation a lot better, and those drivers can see each other, and then pedestrians also are in a more favorable place to be able to cross the street.
Any other questions or comments from the committee?
Yes, I mean, I hate to do this, Thomas, but can you go over the timeline again? So, you were saying that on February, they could start doing citation?
Right. Yeah. Citations. And they will start giving out, or from the police will do their outreach in the fourth quarter, so the last few months of the year.
So we'd heard from police administration that they didn't want to give these warning citations early in the year when, let's say, someone's parking in a spot that's going to be removed on January 1st. So they get a warning in June, but they can still park there for 6 months. They're going to kind of ignore it. So they want the striping changes to be put in. They want it to be imminent, and then they're going to start putting those warning citations on vehicles. And, in the way that they want to be soft about it, they're not going to start writing tickets. What they're telling us is on January 1st, they're going to go around and still do warning citations for a month into the new year.
So, by January, all the stripes, I mean, the contract is going to be completed doing, the striping and all that?
Yeah, that's our goal, unless it just starts raining tomorrow straight through till January, yeah.
And then you brought a good point. So, so is this all final, or do we get to see another round of it? Because it's September, then we're looking at October, November, and December. in terms of our work, I mean, is this considered final, or we still need to do more work on it?
You guys don't need to do any more, right? No. No more.
There were
work in the
some,
field.
there were very limited streets throughout the city, like that were on Sierra Point, or just maybe just kind of lesser known streets by the industrial park. And I took care of those. I wasn't going to give an assignment for streets that are just spaced throughout the city.
So the ridge, like you were saying, there's not much going on over there, right? It's just
No, I was surprised to see so we have a lot of striping in central Brisbane indicating parking on, right next to homes, but on the ridge, the main striping I saw was bike lanes. It wasn't, so they weren't allowing for parking there anyways. It was mostly, there wasn't really any striping that was indicating, okay, this is a parking spot, this is a parking spot, and so on, so.
wow. That's pretty cool. So congrats to staff, and we've got this one pretty quick, I guess.
I guess any other comments or public comment, I guess, at this time, if on this matter?
Yeah, Chris, you can approach the podium.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was my understanding that this legislation was effective 2024, but that it allowed for the first years to simply be at the level of warnings, not that it's effective in 2025. So I'm a little surprised at the choice of implementation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the comment. Okay, if there's, I guess, nothing else regarding this particular assignment in terms of the update on the presentation or sort of additional work from this committee, I think we can move forward then to new business. And first piece of new business then is welcoming the new Complete Streets and Safety Committee members. So Emily and Paul, welcome to the committee officially. I guess, is there a word or official thing we do?
Not
Yeah.
particularly. We met, we did a kind of a small orientation with the two new members, so hopefully they know a bit about what the committee has been working on recently, what they've achieved over a number of years, and a little bit of the protocols of being on a committee. So maybe they can tell us a little bit about themselves
Yeah,
and
wonderful.
why they wanted to be on the committee.
Yeah, maybe
or-
just a couple of sentences. We'll start with you, Emily.
Sure. My name is Emily Warwick. I chose to apply for this committee because I have a little one and I've been walking to the elementary school and walking to the preschool a lot and paying attention to the things of kids running around on streets and sidewalks. And I thought, why not get involved there?
Wonderful. Thank you for getting involved. Yeah. And Paul?
Thank you for having me on the committee. I was asked if I would be willing to take a role on one of the committees. I had applied for the vector control position, so I said yes to accepting anything that was available. So here I am. But with that said, not to discount the importance of this committee, and I very much appreciate the work that's been done, and having staff available is a nice thing that affords you the opportunity to be able to get the information you need. So I'm a good tool, and I really look forward to working with you guys and seeing what we come up with. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome both. Yeah,
Thank you both, and welcome, and we're so grateful to have additional committee members. It was a little thin with just three of us. So, welcome aboard. I hope you love it, and don't run for office.
As you'll see soon, we have plenty on the work plan ahead of us for all of us to start digging into. So your expertise and sort of wisdom will be appreciated. Yeah. Wonderful. Moving on then to item D on new business, which is day in the park discussion. So I guess I'll start off maybe turning over to staff to sort of see if there's a preliminary piece. Tomas did send out a question regarding sort of availability, and so we'll hand it over.
Right, so it's on October 5th. I'm just here on the Brisbane website right now. It's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Those who were there the last time, we had a couple handouts for them. We had people approaching the booth asking what we do. And I guess going forward, what we want to work out for, we have, I think, 2 weeks. I guess work out what kind of items we want to have present. And as far as shifts and then who's going to be going when, I can send out a shared spreadsheet or something, and someone can just choose their spot. But yeah, I guess I'm curious to see what you guys think we should focus on, and also in what form. Should we have, a Google survey? Should we have physical handouts? Should we have graphics? Should we have, just detailed bills, or just a kind of open-ended discussion?
I'll start. What's available to us, Tomas, to hand out that's readily available, or do we need to come up with things that need to be printed?
I guess something I envisioned was something similar to what Caroline's been putting in the blast regarding AB 413. If that in itself is already adequate, that could be something we hand out. Or maybe if you guys want to maybe highlight the work you did, or maybe kind of explain what you guys did in addition to having just the kind of basic info. But so what I'm kind of thinking right now is perhaps information regarding AB 413, and also maybe because it's still fairly new, and also in the near future, the trial residential parking permit program. Just to outline what you guys did and outline what's to come.
Do you have a vision about what that's going to look like? Are we going to have hand-drawn things or handouts that are printed? Do we have any good Brisbane stuff to give away?
Handouts, I think, would be easy, but I'm curious if you guys have anything, maybe any other additional ideas from the
I think
committee.
it's a great opportunity to let the public know more about what this committee's about, because it's well, I used to call it the foster child, but it's not anymore, thank God. And we have been recognized, and that's nice. It's a lot of work. The fact that we're on television now is a big step. So hopefully, occasionally, people are watching and paying attention. Probably no one so much as Chris, but, but thank you. So, just maybe something, I know Vistaprint has things like banners that are really inexpensive that could say Complete Street Safety Committee.
Yeah, I remember we had that last time, so I can definitely put that on the list. That'll be something we can easily handle here with these massive color printers we have, so we can make some sort of graphic for the Complete Streets Committee.
Great. That'd be awesome. Thank you. That's all.
That's a great suggestion. Any other thoughts or comments, questions from the committee? Anything?
I don't remember, we were at Day in the Park, was it 2 years ago? And we had a survey for people. What was it about? Like, what issue, what?
Do you think parking on your street
Was it about parking, or?
Where do you live? Blah, blah.
Yeah, I don't know, we could,
Yeah, maybe worth doing a survey or having like a QR code. People can do a survey that addresses some of the questions we might have in terms of what people, aligns with the work plan in terms of how people, perceive or think of some of the issues there. Like, think about on the work plan, the Mariposa question, right? How do people think about that or feel, or the parking? Yeah, maybe that's a good place to sort of query.
I think we also generally had just what would you like to see, or what kind of completely related issues do you have, concerns that are your own that maybe we're not really talking about our own project, but what opening up to the public to submit something in that regard.
Do we have like a printout or a visual for what the plan is for like the master, the master plan vision for the city for the longer term? Is there something like that like, is displayed in these kind of events in terms of helping people understand what the long-term vision for Brisbane is?
well, we do have a bike ped master plan that's like 7 years old at this point, and I think it has separate maps for proposed, for one for bicycles, one for pedestrians. I mean, we could tape that to the table. It's probably, things have probably changed a little bit, but that might be good to have that visual there.
Just spitballing some ideas, yeah. I guess, is there any, oh yeah.
So I guess have like some informative flyers of, I guess just to make it clear to the visitors of our scope, like Linda was saying, and then have some informative flyers. And what Darius is saying, I think makes a lot of sense. Maybe use that opportunity to survey either our work plan, and then what Thomas is saying, just open it up if they have new suggestions. So I think it's a lot of stuff that we could do on the park. So how do we go to about organizing and executing that? Is that something that you're going to email Thomas to get us all, on the same page? Because it's
there
coming
isn't-
up. It's
There isn't
October
much
5th.
time. I think we're going to take your ideas and we're going to do the best we can with them and have them there. So having a Google survey with a QR code isn't too hard. Printing out stuff that we already have, printing out a banner, and then having that handout for AB 413. It's probably about the extent of what we can do. I don't know of any giveaways. Probably everyone else. If there are any City of Brisbane ones, they've been scooped up by other departments, you know.
Yeah, I mean, print stuff, you know, it's sort of outdated. Everybody just do a lot of electronic stuff. So we could redirect them to, you know, the master plan that you were talking about. I actually have a copy on my computer and I read it here and there. It's kind of outdated though, but it's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, that we can have maybe a QR code for that. I was thinking just the pages that have the proposed improvements, not the whole thing. And it'll just be there for people to look at. So if they want to talk about, well, why aren't you putting a bike lane over here? Or why aren't you adding sidewalk here? I walk here all the time, something like that. I mean, we could even draw on it too. Let people draw on it.
Like a map?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments from the committee members, from the public? I guess any public comment?
On that map idea, I was going to suggest that we do a variation on pin the tail on the donkey and give people the opportunity to put a push pin on the location where they have an issue, have a number associated with that so that you'd have a card where they could write explicitly what their concern is and also give their contact information if we wanted to follow up with them. So yeah, having this be an opportunity. What the Facebook comments about that quick build included some really kind of remarkable over-the-top objections. Someone's asserted that it cost millions of dollars for one thing. And then they pointed out that they thought that there was a much more important safety concern right across the street from where she lived. But she didn't give any details, and she apparently never communicated that to the city. So giving the residents an opportunity to have that kind of engagement would be really, really sweet.
I love that idea, and it's fun. And if we can take something as dry as our work here and make it fun by having a place to put push pins with, you know, a map of Brisbane shaped like a donkey. I don't know. What's
Or a post-it note or something just to kind of stick onto a map where the trouble
Yeah.
points are? With
Yeah,
comment.
but I actually like the idea of tails. It'd be fun. If we had a roulette wheel of some sort and we could give out candy bars, that would be fun. But yeah, that sure adds some depth to what we'll be doing. I love that idea.
Yeah, because we weren't there last year, but we were there 2 years ago. I can just also ask maybe tables that are there yearly. What's any ideas? Any kind of just things to help engage people and inform people? Just any tips? I can reach out just internally to our staff for some of that.
Yeah, that'd be great. I know we do have a meeting still before the day in the park, but obviously it'd be too late to sort of plan things. But maybe in terms of timing and all that, we can kind of work out some more of the messaging and all that the next meeting potentially as well. Because it's a couple days only ahead, yeah. But I'm thinking in terms of time slots because the event is from, is it 10? What time does the event start?
10 to 3.
10 to 3, and so yeah, the idea would be to maybe each have a time slot to sort of be at the booth and talk to people and sort of discuss and find out some of these pieces. And so yeah, we should kind of align, I think, on some of the expectations sort of there and timing, yeah. But I suppose Tomas will send out an email to sort of coordinate some of that as well regarding specifics. Cool. Wonderful. Anything else regarding the day in the park discussion that we should handle today, or that's still sort of open?
I have to split my time between Complete Streets and the Lions Club. But I'll be there all day, so I will be there.
Great, yeah. Cool. Alrighty, moving on then to the next order of new business, which is the 2024 work plan review. And for some context, this is a work plan that the committee had proposed to the council liaisons, who then go back and sort of revise and advise on what the council committee should be working on for the year. And so this has been sort of the assignment for the past year, where the number one point is the AB 413 implications and research, which I think as of today is sort of completed. So yay. The number two on the list then is the investigation of a potential one-way street at Mariposa and Monterey between Visitation and Solano. And this is something that the committee had started to investigate a while back, but it kind of put on pause. So I think, we can sort of touch base on that, but also kind of figure out a strategy moving forward there. And then the next item down the list is the speeding, traffic calming measures, and general traffic issues citywide, which includes a review of AB 43, which we'll get into a little bit, but I believe is sort of a measure that allows for speed limit adjustments. And then the fourth item down, and these are sort of stack ranked in order of importance, and perhaps this is, I guess, is this an opportunity for us to review this, or are we sort of going to the next item down the list?
I think we're going to the next item down the
Next
list.
item on the list, great. Yeah, well, just to round this out then, we have a couple more items at 4, 5, and 6 that are sort of further down in the ranking and priority order. So in which case, I guess the next order for the committee then is to work on investigation of potential one-way streets. Does staff, I guess, have maybe an update or sort of a piece for us of where we left off last, or is this sort of a beginning afresh?
A little background. We talked to the Public Works Director a little bit about this item, knowing that we were meeting tonight and we're starting at the top of the list, or number 2 on the list. And going back over what was done in the past is some committee members, either in groups of 2 or individually, I don't remember, went out and did some observations at these, I think on Solano at Mariposa, maybe Solano at Monterey also. And there were counts. I don't know that we need counts of how many people are doing what they're doing, but what we can resurrect that data. There was, a couple people went I think it was when school was starting and when school was ending. And somewhat some of the problems are focused on people dropping off in the morning, because that's always the same time, and then parents speed. We were told anecdotally after they drop off their kid, but some people are still coming in and dropping off their kids. Some of the other problems everybody knows are that going up Mariposa, it's very steep, and people kind of try to make that turn without stopping and roll through it, and it creates conflict, and that fire engines are having a lot of difficulty getting up and making that turn. So the concept that's to be investigated is that Monterey, and you made a graphic quite a while back, but don't look it up, it's too hard to find. Monterey would be one way uphill, and Mariposa would be one way downhill to Inyo, but it would be 2 ways below Inyo, because if you're right in that little block and you're used to going out Inyo, it'd be a lot to go all the way around. What we were told is that the GIS team is trying to make a video to highlight what the issues are there, but it's not ready quite yet. So we're suggesting that to start, that you guys do just observations as you're available, not necessarily right at the moment that kids go to school, but as you're available, because we're meeting again in a couple of weeks, so we can maybe we'll have this video ready, we can kind of get into a little bit more of how we want to approach it. I think the video will shed some light on what the issue is. That's the idea of it. And we talked a little bit at the staff level about planning a couple of meetings with the neighbors. So what we have for people that are directly affected that live on those streets are just the addresses. So we'd have to mail them a letter and say, this is a meeting we're having on a Saturday morning. This is a meeting we're having on a Wednesday. Maybe we have our meeting out there. That can be complicated, but at 6:30, whatever the times are, maybe have a couple of those and get the neighbors involved and have some cookies or coffee and donuts or whatever, and have a discussion. So I'm suggesting that you guys think about, go out and look at it. Once the idea was floated, I started trying to drive it that way when I would go to the pool, go up Monterey and go down Mariposa. And if you don't live on one of those streets, it's not that impactful. It doesn't take a lot longer. So get familiar with it and think about how we would do outreach, and then we can kind of go further into it at our next meeting.
So, I think it was Pat that was, gathering some data and that data might be skewed because it was around COVID. But anyway, I do live in Mariposa and close to Solano, and so that would be a great idea to, as we begin this, to get the people that live on the street input, and definitely to have a meeting, but also perhaps send a letter with some question to survey, and give them some general information how in other instances how this have played out. Like for instance, I have questions like, so when you convert a street into one way, are we still going to have the stop sign? Is the street, because like right now, we're having parking spaces issues like a lot of Brisbane has. So now that it's going to be one way, is the parking lines are going to be redrawn? And those, so sort of getting ahead of usually what happens, and why is the reason that we want to make Mariposa going one way toward visitation instead of the other way around? It's just some questions of that nature.
Yeah, particularly because that right turn from Mariposa onto Solano is so steep and difficult. That's kind of the main reason that was chosen to be the downhill. So it would eliminate that turn. It's difficult for autos and it's difficult for fire and emergency response.
I worked with Patrick on that. I worked with Patrick on that.
Right.
That was a scary corner for cars going up, particularly. There was some speeding. There was a lot of near misses with people coming one way or trying to make a hand turn. So there probably needs to be additional things. I'll just be honest, I'm a nerd. I stayed up one night when I couldn't sleep and I drew out some potential things that could be done there. And if I can find those drawings, I'd be happy to share them with you. They may not work completely, but if we could force cars to come down Mariposa from the school, I think it would create a lot less issues over towards Monterey, where we have that four-way stop intersection kind of thing. There's just that's just one of the things that came across my mind, but I will look for what I worked on. And we were out there for quite a while and we saw a lot of stuff that wasn't comfortable to watch. And Lisa Gonzalez is on that corner and her corner gets hit all the time. So there's good reason for it to be a one-way up with the way traffic and large vehicles, buses that use that road, or one-way down rather, in Monterey being a gentler way up with a softer turn. So that's all. Thank you.
I would like to add that as a parent who used to walk up that street, Solano, to get to Silver Spot and then Lippman for summer school, it's not scary just as drivers. It's scary as parents walking the kids because they don't stop because they have to take such speeds to get up it. So it's pedestrian concern as well. So I like the thought of moving traffic going downward on Mariposa, but then that falls into the other complaint that I sat in and other parents have complained about, is that there's no stop sign at Mariposa and Visitation. So if you're moving and trying to get out and traffic's building up, you're just sitting and waiting. And so then traffic builds up on Mariposa, whether that's morning after school drop off or afternoon after pickup. So maybe need to consider, traffic flow at Mariposa and Visitation if it's going to flow one way down.
There's also Inyo that can be used.
Right, and they could go up to Mendocino too, of course.
Yeah.
But it's, explaining that to residents and parents that this would be
That's
the
a
new,
block out of their way.
so something to consider.
Yeah, in fact, so you're saying that traffic, you've seen it in the morning after drop-off, backing up Mariposa because visitation has,
There's
doesn't
no
have
stop sign, because the stop sign, I believe, is at Monterey.
And when I would go swimming, we'd go at lunch with some coworkers. They would turn down Inyo so they could make the turn onto Old County or, out of town over to here at a four-way stop.
Any public comment on this topic? Before moving on, I guess. Yeah.
I can't. This is interesting because if those two streets are made one way, do we have an opportunity to reclaim our sidewalks on those streets and really make walking in that area much safer? And I'm particularly interested in that Mariposa Solana. It's treacherous to walk on that intersection, truly. And so if we're making these changes, is there also some concrete changes that we could make literally that would also make it easier to walk there, where we put steps in, because that's really what that intersection requires. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So I guess regarding this item, then the recommendation is to come back next time after sort of surveying unofficially, but that at the next meeting we should maybe expect to have a video or some additional direction at that time, plus maybe the sort of what the proposed design is, as well as, some of the drawings or whatnot about why those were chosen.
Yes, I don't know that we'll be to the point of having a proposed design, but we can definitely look at the Google Street View and talk about it. And I think it's something at this point, in terms of some of the nuances that you guys have brought up, we haven't drawn out what we think the complete design is going to be. So we can work through all of that and take your recommendations and your thoughts, but we'll definitely have more to kind of sink our teeth into, and we can get into planning for these meetings with the neighbors.
And then I guess maybe a point of clarity, is it the committee's role to meet with sort of the neighbors, or is that more on the staff side, and sort of what's the committee's role versus the staff, given their involvement already?
Well, I don't know that we've done something like this before, but I think that we would like you guys to be there to the extent that, I guess if all of you are going to be there, it's a meeting, so maybe it would be kind of a subcommittee or a subgroup, unless we agendize it and note the location. But I mean, I think it helps. We've found in the past that when there's an issue that maybe is contentious, that if a community member has kind of informed themselves about it and is telling their neighbors, it doesn't come across as harshly as if the city is telling you that we are imposing this on you. So that's the value of having some of you there, from my perspective.
Yeah, I think maybe a survey would definitely, help. So, so then we have, a little bit of a data point. I have a feeling that a lot of people will agree with it, but just, have like a data point saying, we surveyed this, most people agree, and these are the scope, and this is what we're planning to do. What are your thoughts? But also, we should probably do both of them together, both streets, because, they're both going to they're going to do the same dance. So maybe we just do it at once.
Yeah, I agree. We just said 2 meetings because, let's say, if you do a weeknight, maybe people can't come, but if you do a Saturday morning, some other people can't come. So you're kind of offering times that work for more people. It's possible to do it over Zoom, but I think we'd get I don't know what if people think you'd get less response to something like that.
I have a question to ask. Because it was indicated by one of our liaisons that they would like for us to get things going and into completion, move to the next thing, get things going. Should we set a timeline so this doesn't drag out too long?
Timeline to
come up with a recommendation for council.
Yeah, we can. I'm not sure that I know what we think that ought to be in my mind.
And I don't think this is going to be that hard compared to some other things we've done. But I think maybe 3 months might be a good goal for starters, and if we need to extend it, we can. But I think this is a really important change that needs to be made, and probably should have a lot of focus from us on moving it forward with recommendations as soon as possible.
Yeah,
Anybody
3 months
on the
is-
committee have any thoughts?
I mean, 3 months seems reasonable. And what are your thoughts in terms of budget? Is this gonna have, are this stuff expensive to do, or?
No, because it's some signs and maybe some striping changes.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think 3 months seems reasonable. I don't know if she would put it into a vote.
I don't really need to vote. Yeah. I mean, I think 3 months sounds reasonable also, as long as sort of, I think we have some clarity on next steps. If there's a video or sort of that piece, and then, yeah, I think community piece. I guess there's another, yeah, because I guess, that's the end of the year. So then we're on to 2025 work plan after that. So yeah, I think that sounds quite reasonable to me. And if we can't make that progress, maybe we consider, other items on the agenda that we can sort of do in parallel, or make progress on. But yeah, I think, sort of 3-month timeline seems very reasonable, sort of before end of the year for sure, given the sort of, holidays as well. So we can, I think, aim for that. And with the next sort of meeting, having some hopefully additional clarity on that. And hopefully we all survey independently, if not yet, although I'm sure all of us have walked across those streets, obviously. So yeah, okay. Any other comments from the committee or from staff or from public on this then?
Might you also consider not just the striping and signage, but pedestrian? You and Karen, you and I talked about at my orientation about like the lights and the blinking, and for pedestrians to push a button to cross. Not necessarily that, but something to draw more attention to the driver's eyes that are going to be turning left. If we could do Mariposa one way down to Visitation, that pedestrian crosswalk, something to draw their attention that a kid or someone's in that street.
Yeah, traffic calming definitely
Yeah.
can be part of it. We did put the medallions and the safer pedestrian route on the other side of Solano, though, because that's so steep at that crosswalk. It didn't seem like the best place to be crossing, but yeah, that might change for the one-way street,
People still use it.
right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. All right. I guess moving on then, from new business to staff updates. Staff updates.
So,
Or I guess, is there anything else for because we're not moving to the next item in the work plan. Is that correct? In terms of we're sort of stuck on this piece in the work plan, we're not sort of moving to the next item.
Right, based on what the council liaisons kind of directed us when we met with them. They want everyone to work on one item and finish that item and then go on to the next item.
Wonderful. Yep. So then staff updates.
yeah, so Darius, you're already familiar because I sent you the letters of support draft to sign off. But if I could, here's one of my tabs. So we applied for 2 grants in the past month. One grant was for the ACR TDM grant offered through the SMCTA, the San Mateo County Transportation Authority. We had applied for this grant in the past for the shuttle stop improvements, if you guys remember. And this grant application process was a little bit unique. First off, the project was for the Bayshore Van Waters bus stop relocation, headed northbound. And this project was included in the Safe Check report. It's been referenced a couple times. I think it even existed prior to that, or the idea was thrown around prior. But this application was a bit unique in the sense that the application maximum amount was $200,000 to request. And that would have only gotten us design as per our engineer's estimate. So we actually requested additional funds exceeding the maximum grant amount. We were directed this by the SMCTA. They suggested it was that this grant would be undersubscribed. So the plan would be, if everything goes according to plan and the additional funds are requested, that they're given to us, we would have a design to relocate the bus stop to the north side of the intersection, traveling northbound. This is per Samtrans' most recent guidelines. There would also be the addition of sidewalk, curb, gutter, striping improvements, improvements to the traffic signal, and the total cost for that project would be $600,000. We just submitted that grant about 2 weeks ago. It's going to council in a resolution on Thursday, not tomorrow, because today's Tuesday. And then expressing support for that application. And we should know about if this grant is going to be approved by November. And so I drafted a letter of support from Darius, or on behalf of Darius being chair, and just wanted to make you guys aware of this grant. Oh, so yeah. I can also send this out after, but yeah. And then we also applied for an additional grant. It's the Highway Safety Improvement Program. But for that project, we applied to add a traffic signal on San Bruno facing Bayshore. So to allow for that left turn signal. I think Karen, maybe historically you might have more information on that.
Well, it was the committee that investigated that intersection most recently. There was a fatality there, but it wasn't related to it was an impaired driver. It wasn't just the layout of the signal, but or the layout of the intersection, but also Christian's business is at one of the corners, and so he had a lot of anecdotal information about people making U-turns and dangerous movements, and the committee did a lot of, Linda's nodding, she can probably add to what I'm going to say, did a lot of observation out there, and even borrowed a radar gun from the police department and observed how people were driving, what speeds they were going, what movements they were making. And the committee made a series of recommendations, the first one being to signalize this intersection. Short of funds, the next thing was to disallow left turns from San Bruno onto Bayshore. So that was the committee's action that got that to happen. The committee actually recommended during commute hours, that's the busiest time, but the council wanted to do it 24/7. So with a signal, we could go back to having left turns there and make all the movements safer. So the grant request was in the neighborhood of 600,000, maybe a little bit less. You have to have actually a certain amount of accidents and problems there. You have to have a cost-benefit ratio that pencils out. So we met that, and we're waiting to hear if we get funds to put a traffic signal there.
And also, you guys might remember the local road safety plan that we made you guys aware of, and kept you guys in the loop regarding that. But one of the requirements for this grant was to have a local road safety plan in place. So just kind of outlining the benefit of why we do those kind of, or we participate in these reports, because they help us be more competitive for grant funds like this one.
I just want to add that out of the last 10 times I've used that intersection to turn south, 4 times I've had people U-turn to go south again, heading north and U-turning, and it's really scary. It's like it doesn't matter, it doesn't mean them. And so I think getting that lit is going to really make a big difference, because then it'll be maybe like running a red light or something, I don't know, depending on the signage.
Great, yeah, thank you, staff, for filing those and putting that together as well. Yeah. Do you want to make a comment as well?
Yeah, that was a great follow-up. And do you have a time frame where they're going to get back to you, or?
I don't remember exactly. It's probably a couple of months. We have a consultant on a retainer to help us apply for grants, and they did a lot of the work on this one. So they were into the weeds on the guidelines, but yeah, it's probably a couple months on that.
I mean, in general, what was done has improved a lot the situation, but now a lot often you encounter people turning to the left, and then the people going south, they get into this little weird situation.
I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm assuming a signal would make that safer, because you can only make your movement if you have a green. It's protected. The other thing, or is there any more on this?
Well, we're just going to say the signal will also help with the speed. If you have a signal over there, because it's going to be like a center point where they're going to have to stop or why not. Now they don't have that. They just keep picking up speed, and as a matter of fact, there's a lot of officers that they park around my business just fishing those guys out.
And just to reiterate that traffic signals and stop signs are not meant to control speed. They're meant to control right of way, who has the right to go at what time. But yeah, it might serve to do that as well. Another item, Chris had emailed us about the Smart Corridors project. I don't know if we have updated you very much, and the Public Works Director has kind of been the key person involved, but to my understanding, CCAG has gotten funding to smarten the corridors, I guess you would say, to be able to reroute people if there's an incident on 101 onto surface streets. So they've provided some upgrades along Bayshore to be able to reroute if needed. So they're putting in their own fiber optic, they're upgrading some of our controllers, and I think we are, I don't know that much about it, so I don't want to say the timeline. I'm not sure of the timeline, but I think we're at the later end of the project going through the county.
I hope so. Those, excavation that they've been doing for the fiber optics, I don't know how they go about, but it seems like they don't do any coordination, or they actually, they don't want to do coordination. But it seems like, for instance, PG&E does one excavation, then it comes Comcast, then it comes somebody else. But for the last year, it's just been, they excavated the same spot like 5 times.
I don't think they want to work together necessarily. It can be challenging and can cause finger pointing, and it's hard to share the cost that way. I think it just kind of worked out such that I don't think PG&E is working all the way up and down the corridor, but yeah, the Smart Corridor and then another fiber optic are both working on Bayshore extensively. We're all aware. I don't know that we have any other staff updates. Chair can take public comment if they'd like.
Are there any public comments?
I was really interested in that project that I asked you to share with the committee, because I couldn't figure out actually what they're planning to do. What is the intention for Bayshore that would allow for overflow? I thought in a previous meeting, we were talking about trying to discourage overflow from 101 coming onto Bayshore, and yet this sounds like an attempt to facilitate that. And I quite honestly don't understand what the fiber optics activity has to do with that. And how are we going to be able to come up with a comprehensive plan for Bayshore if we've got these independent activities going on? There's the moving of the shuttle stop. There's that UC Berkeley plan that we've got on the table. And for example, as they've been doing the work on the fiber optics, they've been removing the rumble strip, thank God, off of Bayshore Boulevard, and actually creating an opportunity to put a protected bike lane along the length of Bayshore from San Bruno through into South San Francisco. And I know South San Francisco has been taking a great deal of interest in protected bike lanes. So is there an opportunity there for us to take advantage of this disruption and make that, at least on the west side of Bayshore, a little bit safer? We'll have to defer what goes on the east side for now. But I think we need a comprehensive idea that we have shared with the city engineer, with the city council, about what we're doing with Bayshore Boulevard. Because I thought we were going to try and calm it rather than use it as an alternative for 101. Thanks.
Chris, I completely agree with you. I'm surprised that CCAG got money to do something on Bayshore. And I think this is the first time I'm hearing about it. And to have more traffic is going to be a nightmare. It's already rough out there. So if we could possibly coordinate efforts with them, maybe some of our work could be, or we could meet together and have a public meeting of some sort with CCAG so that we can see what are they up to, why, and how can we help make that better for everybody, all the different things that we need. We need a safe way for pedestrians to get that way. We need a bike route. The one on the east side that cuts across the flyover is terrifying. So there's a lot of things that, could be thrown on the table and looked at, and possibly if that committee has a plan, they could share it with us. And staff, do you know if that's even possible?
No, this is in the construction phase.
Okay.
This is to deal with non-recurring traffic congestion. It's not going to regularly put traffic on, but if there's a major incident on 101,
They do that anyway. They tend to come down Bayshore and up San Bruno Avenue, and
so this is for the entire county. So some people do, and maybe, I don't know if, what you guys think about it, and if you think that your phone is going to tell you where to go anyways and they don't need it, but this is putting in an interconnected system with dynamic message signs. I'm reading from their website, and vehicle detection. So if there's some major incident on 101, it's directing people all the way through the county how to get around such an incident.
So this will only be sort of an emergency or accident situation, sort of rerouting that's more smart, with signage. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. But then there are still going to be measures to sort of calm the traffic around there, and I know there's some of those discussions. That's a separate plan, though, and a separate piece. That
And that's probably going to make this route less desirable as a bypass for 101 when that happens. But to be determined,
So the Berkeley, study that you guys presented, that was purely academic, right? That's not, that the road
say
diets
yes,
and all that.
but I'm not sure that I think that at the director level with the consultant that works with us, we applied for another grant to try to get funds to do. It might have been an earmark, or it might have been a Safe Streets for All to get funds to do that road diet project. So we're fishing for ways to do all of these things to make Bayshore safer.
Right, like a lot of for the Bayshore, the bus stop relocation, a lot of what was in that report, is also, improving safety conditions for pedestrians, bicyclists, and that would be part of, it's a bus stop relocation, but like I said, there's also the addition of traffic signal improvements, striping, and just crosswalks to make it a safer area. Try to incorporate everything.
Great. All right. Any other staff updates? Moving on then.
Nope.
All right. Moving forward to chair and committee member matters then. Are there any chair and committee member matters that we would like to bring up?
I just want to welcome our new members again. Thank you both. I'm so glad to see you here.
Welcome.
I think we all are. So-
Yeah, and this is an opportunity to sort of bring up any matters that you want to, bring forth and maybe have on the next agenda, or just sort of bring to the committee's attention or ask of staff. So any sort of, ongoings around town or what have you.
So I think we're going to add, is it to vote for a vice chairman?
Yeah, I think for the next meeting, then we'll have a sort of an agenda item to, I guess, nominate and elect the vice chairman of the committee.
I do have some
Please.
concerns. So just off the top of my head, and I mentioned them the other day when we had our meeting with Tomas and Karen. One of my concerns is that the crossings for the Crocker Park Trail at North Hill, there's no signage. It talks about, pedestrian crossings. West Hill Place, where the trail crosses, there's a real blind spot where people are coming down West Hill Place towards Valley, and there's people crossing, even though there's that flashing light, which is really nice to have. It's most often people just ignore it, and so you really have to have your head on a swivel. So that would be something I'd like to work on. Another issue that I have is those fenced-in crosswalks here on Valley Drive, right opposite City Hall, and then just up the street a little bit where the Crocker Park Trail crosses again, near the Natural Stone Place. There's those caged-in areas in the middle of Valley Drive that's in the middle of the crosswalk, so you cross out there, and most times people don't stop for you, even when you're in the middle of Valley Drive, and you're in this middle of a cage because you're trying to stay in the crosswalk. And so I think those really could impede somebody's ability to get out of the way if something happened there. So I would like to see better crossing and definitely signage. And then one other thing that I'd asked at our meeting about the ability to get grants. If you've ever noticed, a lot of people take the bus on Bay Shore and Guadalupe to come into the industrial park. And unfortunately, going down North Hill, there aren't sidewalks. So there's a sidewalk that comes from the bus stop on Guadalupe, but then as soon as it turns and starts to go down North Hill, there's no more sidewalk. And people have to walk down in the street. And it depends on what time of day, if there's shadows from the trees. Sometimes even if you're alert, it's difficult to see somebody walking down the street. And I saw somebody in a wheelchair. So I was hoping that we could, and then all the way, of course, to Valley Drive, there's no sidewalk on that side of the street. So I know it's a big undertaking, a project like that, but
I really appreciate that. And what I have to tell you about how our work is assigned, it comes directly from our council liaisons. So we can't just add something to our work list. You need to approach our council liaisons and ask them to put this on the work list and give them the evidence of the safety reasons. And it will probably be on our next work list, since we're going to be working on the 2 one-way streets right now. But if they agree, and I'm sure, I mean, they're smart people, I'm sure that they will take a look at it seriously with you.
that's the liaison, like from the police department.
No, council. Our liaisons are Councilmember Mackin and
from the
Councilmember
council.
Cunningham.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wish I could say, yeah, let's add it, because it sounds really serious, but especially the no sidewalk. But
No, that's good to know. I just brought it up for your direction, and now I have direction, so thank you.
okay.
We generally meet with the liaisons early in the year and talk about the work plan for the next year. So that'd be the time to kind of, well, the committee will talk about and draft the things that they want as a full committee to get on the work plan. And then we meet with the liaisons and kind of hash through what everybody thinks and what we think we can accomplish in a year. So those are good items to add.
Yeah, and also since we finished the parking program, I mean, obviously you can tell it seems like we were stuck for 2 years on one item, but now that we have finished that item, the list is changing faster, things are getting crossed off faster. So I think it'll be a good opportunity to voice one's own concerns and see if it can make it onto the next work plan.
Thank you for voicing those. Yeah, anything else during the committee member matters?
But those are good points, because as committee members, we also get the opportunity to tell the license, these are some of our concerns, and they listen and they either put it in the work plan or not. That's up to them.
Alrighty, I guess moving on then, I guess that completes the meeting. Our next meeting will be October 2nd
Very soon.
at 6:30. Yeah, it's quite soon. And then we have the day in the park on the 5th. So thank you all for a productive meeting. Welcome again. And I'll Meeting is adjourned. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Nice short one this time.
Good meeting. I know you're good. Making them short.